Hello, I'm Ray. It's finally here, the new Google Pixel 2. It's been a really windy day, sorry about that. By the way, so it's gonna be a fake unboxing, but my very first impression and initial review for real. Let's have a look. You're right, it's a fake unboxing, but in fact I've just taken out the phone itself, while leaving all the accessories behind, so more than half of the box is still fresh and untouched. The first thing I've noticed is that hashtag, Team Pixel. Google's literally done everything they can to emphasize brands like Pixel and Made by Google this time around. It's actually really glad to see they've made such a commitment in producing hardware. Now we know Google's probably already started thinking of making their next-gen Pixel phone, working with HTC's Team Pixel team I mean, which is now Google's anyway. Here we've got the Pixel 2, rewrapped in the plastic film. It's a really tiny phone actually. Now, despite the regular Pixel 2's got a conventional 16:9 screen, the body is actually quite tall thanks to those humongous bezels on the top and the bottom. More on that later. Again, welcome to Team Pixel. It seems that Google wanted their customers to feel really proud of themselves using a Pixel phone. By the way, that bright sky blue, it just looked too young and energetic for me, for a flagship phone, to be honest. The handy USB on-the-go dongles here again. It basically helps you transfer all the files and data from your old phone, or you can plug in a card reader as well as a USB drive on the go. Down to the bottom layer of the box, we've got all the Type-C to 3.5mm headphone jack converter, and a lot more stuffs. Then we've got the wall adapter. That gives 9V 2A, 18W of output. Far from the fastest charging experience out there, like Huawei and OnePlus have already pushed that to over 20W. The Type-C to Type-C cable is also not that easy to get one. Basically, that's it. The Pixel phone doesn't come with earphones as usual. This is it, the Pixel 2. We'll definitely check out the Pixel 2 XL later on, stay tuned for that. But actually it's got the exact same jewel-tone design like its larger brother. And you're right, the kinda plasticky textures here as well. The major difference would be those massive bezels on the top and the bottom, as we've just said. But they house a dual speaker setup. A 1080p 16:9 display with thick bezels however is simply unacceptable, even though it's an AMOLED display. Speaking of this AMOLED display, you might have already heard of a lot of negative comments about it, but to be fair, this is not a bad display or whatsoever. In fact, it really depends on what you are looking for. Like if you really enjoyed those punchy and vivid colors on Samsung's displays in the past, then it will definitely take you some time to get used to those dull and toned down colors here on the Pixel's displays. On the contrary, if you really hated those oversaturated colors and have been using the basic mode on Samsung's devices, then you are getting a really similar sRGB calibrated natural looking screen here, with inky deep black and ultra wide viewing angle, at least here on the smaller Pixel. We'll have to check out the display on the XL variant later on. Back on the speakers, two's better than one, isn't it? However, the audio quality is not gonna compete with even the 2-year-old Nexus 6P. They do give crystal clear highs, but mids and lows are really thin and tiny. There are stuffs that are worth our applause though. A fingerprint scanner at the right spot, and this time around they matched the texture with the metal chassis. Compared to what they have last year, it's a lot more scratch resistant. That sensitivity and unlocking speed are also one of the best out there. They've also made the ambient display staying there forever if you want, with double tap to wake. Another handy feature is that squeezing gesture borrowed from HTC. It's a tiny bit less awkward than saying "OK Google" out loud in public. But you will have to chat with your phone to get things done in the end, if you really wanted to make a good use of that Google Assistant. Like you can even set a timer to take a selfie. Take a selfie in 10 seconds. Or even turn on Wi-Fi hotspot with a single verbal command. Turn on Wi-Fi hotspot. Stay tuned for my full review for other Android Oreo new features. Just give me some time to explore that new system. Generally speaking, instead of all those fancy features, the major key unmatchable advantage stock Android's got is, yep, the buttery smooth experience. On papers, the Pixel 2 might be just another ordinary flagship phone that's powered by a Snapdragon 835, but in reality it not only handles day-to-day navigation smoother, but also launches games significantly faster than phones like the Note 8. Another reason for us to get a Pixel is probably that camera. It's got the best camera on a smartphone, according to DxOMark. Before that, we've got a feature that's really similar to live photo on the iPhone. Google's called it motion photo. While it rendered the bokeh effect accurately, when the separation between the subject and the background is clear enough. However, they've made it possible on a single lens setup. Unfortunately, if we zoom in and stare at those photos real close, we'll notice those jagged effects along the edges of the subjects. This one's close to perfect though. Once we're back to outdoor, however, the Pixel 2 started to fall behind those high-end, top-tier flagships with dual camera systems. This set of photos was actually taken with the main camera pointing to myself. If we put the Pixel 2 right next to Note 8's image, the Note 8's clearly taken the crown, with way sharper edges and much more details on my hair. Dealing with challenging scenes like this, the Note 8's also beaten the Pixel 2 by a huge margin. Hopefully software update does help in the future. Image quality in the broad daylight is great though. Due to its actually merging a bunch of photos taken in something like a burst mode, the Pixel 2 compensates the exposure on the highlights and lowlights incredibly well. Look at those clouds. It was such a cloudy morning, the sky was grey and dull. The Pixel 2, however, still managed to capture all those textures and layers of the clouds. With next to no artificial sharpening effect at all, it gives the widest dynamic range I've seen, saturated but natural colors, and accurate white balance. Stay tuned for my full review again for a lot more low-light shots. Also an in-depth comparison between this and the Note 8. Video recording on the Pixel 2 is also fantastic. The first-gen Pixel was so well known for capturing rock-stable handheld footages even without OIS. But panning was such a nightmare back then. This time around, backed with both optical image stabilization and electronic software stabilization, is now literally comparable to Sony's Blackmagic. Almost.
Club isn't the best place to find love, silver is where I go. Me and my friends at the table doing shots, and we talk so.
The thing is, even 60 frames per second 1080p footages are well stabilized as well. That's really impressive. So there we have it, the Pixel 2. It's indeed got a really boring design, with excellent build quality though, but the chassis does feel a bit plasticky. With the best hardware we can get on an Android phone so far, the smoothest stock Android experience, a fantastic camera, a dual speaker setup that sounds a bit tiny and shallow, an AMOLED display which quality is controversial, a 2700 mAh battery that's to be tested on a full review. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed watching this video, like it if you liked it, and don't forget to subscribe. There are also 2 more videos here on the left for you guys to watch next. See you next time.